Managers need to have relationships in all facets of the business, not just radio, not just DSPs, fashion, lifestyle, everything. If they're going to be in this, they need to have all the relationships.
So guys, I want you to just bring a warm welcome to a mentor, a friend, just a all-around uncle. He's actually a vampire, but we'll talk about that later on in the talk. You know what I'm saying? So give it up, guys, for Amir Boyd. Welcome.
What up, bro? What's up, everybody? Thanks for having me here. Heavy Sounds Lab. This is awesome. What's good?
The comments are coming in already. Somebody came in and said the GOAT. So this is gonna be dope, man. You got a new look, man, new beard, I see.
Yeah, I'm staying safe, bro. Whatever that means nowadays. I mean, it's a lot going on, but I'm trying to stay out the way. So, and you know, I'm out here in LA, so things haven't opened up out here. So yeah, I'm just, you know, you know what I'm saying? Just looking like Brutus right about now.
Nah, it's all good. It's all good. Yo, let's get right into it, man. So we got a lot of different crew members from all over the place. So I really want to get into like your background and where you're from. We want to start from the core and then let's expand out.
Okay, so here's a fun fact. I think you may know, but a whole bunch of people don't know. I was actually born in Detroit, Michigan, but I can't claim Detroit because I was only there 13 months of my life. The crime had gotten really bad there once they closed down the plants and all that stuff. So my peoples, they moved to Suitland, Maryland, and I grew up there. Then we moved out to the suburbs, and then I spent my adult life living in DC. And I moved to Atlanta 2003, maybe? Yeah, around 2003. And I've been in LA for the last 3 years.
Dope. So you moved from DMV, is that the area?
Yeah.
Oh, the area. So tell us about that. So you moved from DC to Atlanta. So 2003, like that's white hot scorching Atlanta. Like how'd that come about?
All right, so I went to Morgan State in Baltimore, Maryland. And I actually was a history major, secondary education. I wanted to be a teacher. However, I started throwing parties when I was in college and, you know, literally throwing them in my house. And I realized that I had a niche for promoting, marketing. I you know, draw my own flyers up, go out and pass them out, and everybody be in my house. Or then when I moved to another location, you know, I just realized that was my niche, throwing these parties. So I got, you know, once I got out of college, I didn't graduate, but I left college, and a friend of mine was working at the radio station in DC. Shout out to Tony Reds, who just passed away, one of the homies that I started with in radio in DC. But she said they were hiring, and I went up there. She was like, yo, I know you're going to get the job, so just come on here and apply. And at the time, I was working at the MCI Center. I was working at Giant. Like, I was in between it, you know what I'm saying, trying to figure it out. And this was 1999. I started working at the radio station in DC, WPGC. A lot of great people. Tigger, Donnie Simpson, Thea Mitchum, who's, you know, one of the heads of radio, iHeart, Osei, just a whole bunch of people. Left there and then went to another radio station in Baltimore that they had started. And the reason Thea had gotten her first PD gig. She took me with her, and she felt like I knew the market already, and she felt like I was the best person for the job. So I ended up being her assistant promotions director. You know, in being there, you know, just using my relationships I had in radio in DC. I'm still kind of just doing my thing. I managed a street team for that radio station. Radio station went off the air. Prior to it going off the air, Frank Ski in Baltimore, in Atlanta, used to be syndicated to this radio station, he would always go back and tell the GM in Atlanta, yo, y'all need to hire Amir. Y'all need to get somebody like him on y'all street team, yada, yada, yada. And then I ended up in Atlanta. The radio station went off the air in Baltimore on March 7th, 2003. I moved to Atlanta March 27th of 2003. And yeah, it's kind of been on since. So yeah, that's how I ended up in Atlanta.
That's actually dope. So a lot of our crew members, they're looking to get into different fields. Like I myself actually moved to Atlanta. A lot of people, they want to do music. They want to get into the entertainment game. So last week we had Ray Rizzi. He talked about how the referee is still in the game. You're running with the players and everything. So your career is a very unique one. So like, how does somebody even get into that lane? We have a lot of people that have artists, or they just like, yeah, I just want to get into the music game. And you mentioned PD, so like that's a program director, correct?
Yeah.
So cool. So like to go into how does somebody get into that? And
I mean, let's speak somewhat prior to what's going on now, right?
Sure.
I don't know how this is going to pan out when it's all over with. And I mean the pandemic, right? But prior to then, and you know, relationships, you know what I'm saying? And I know what worked for me. What worked for me was always being on, right? You know, always like not stepping up or being available because something is available, but being like that all the time, never letting nobody be able to question your work ethic. So getting in, you know, a lot of people were interns, you know what I'm saying? That was always the way to get in, and it still is. But again, I'm speaking as if we don't know, you know what I mean, the rest of this world gonna figure it out. But being an intern is usually the way to get in. But I know people who have sacrificed a lot or worked for free, damn near, like myself, to get in. You know, when you getting in, you know, if you know anything about anything, you're not gonna be making no money. So you're not doing it for money. You're doing it for passion. So, you know what I'm saying? I've always been passionate about everything that I'm involved in. And, you know this, and Jeter knows this, Kirsten knows this. Like if I put on the flag, if I put on the jersey, I'm wearing that. Like we outside together. And I've always kind of had my own drive, you know, through my passion.
Nah, for sure. Like, I'm glad you mentioned passion, because one thing I did learn from you. For you guys out there, I was fortunate enough to like go on like a radio tour with Amir. So how my interest point was the camera, right, and being creative. And I just watched the way he would work the room. He'll be like, "Yo, man, you don't never know until you ask." And lo and behold, I was kind of recluse, like, nah, you know, I might talk to this person or may not. But you see these people all the time. Like it's to this day now, I still see people that I met on that journey. So like, tell us, how important is it to maintain relationships?
I mean, I wouldn't even. They're so valuable. You know, I can go back to, you know, when I met, you know, Jason and Clay and all of them before I was even, you know, working with them. You know what I'm saying? Wow. You know, or I can go back to, you know, the whole Frank Ski thing, or I can take it even a step further back to the original relationship of the young lady who is my daughter's godmother, who the one was working at the PGC and told me that they was hiring. Like she could have told anybody that, but she knew that I threw those parties, I would be good at this. And, you know, so the relationship factor, relationships are paramount. I can't really stress how important they are because there's really not enough words to explain to somebody how important they are. You know what I mean? When you got some relationships, you know, you're gonna always be all right as long as you make sure you nurture them. You know what I'm saying? They gotta be, you know, it's just like, you know, you growing a flower, like you gotta feed the relationships. I was having a conversation with Jason the other day, and we was talking about how we wanna, you know, make sure we learning from younger people, and they can learn from us. It has to be a give and take type thing. You know what I'm saying? But you're not necessarily doing it to receive anything. But if people see that you're doing right and you're doing good and you're trying to help yourself, you know, they'll want to help you, and your relationships will get stronger that way.
No, for sure. That's a key thing. I just started really picking up with like the last 3 years, and that is really, really helping me travel with things, man. So like low key, I would consider you like one of the Bruce Waynes, right? So people like, yo, like what's that mean? So like as far as like Jeter is one of those Bruce Wayne types. Like a lot of people that I know that I've come across in the industry, in the sense of your Bruce Wayne in the front, but you put the work in behind the scenes. You put your Batman. Like people don't know, and you don't do it to be seen. You don't do it for credit. You just really put the work in. So like, how'd you get that spark? Because of course there's other people that do what you do, but you have a particular set of skills that makes you shine. So like, where'd that come from? Where'd that attribute come from with you?
I think for me, all right, so if I had to take something from both of my parents, right? My dad is a dreamer, you know what I'm saying? My mom is a worker. So I kind of just felt like, you know, and I've realized this more now that I'm older, that I've really just put both of their characteristics together and have become that. So I'm a dreamer and I'm a worker, and I understand that in order for you to be a dreamer, you gotta work to get to them dreams. You know what I'm saying? And I never wanted nobody to be able to be like, man, Amir, he lazy. You know what I'm saying? I played sports too. So, you know, and I used to be kind of good at football when I was young. Right. And, you know, and I understand the team concept too. Like, you know what I'm saying? I understand, like, you know, some of my best friends to this day were on my offensive line. You know what I'm saying? So I understand, like, yo, I need you to do your part so I can do my thing and we can go get this W. Because to me, it's all about putting up the W's, but you don't just put up wins without losses, and you're not like putting in no work. Like you even when you lose, you putting in work. Like so you don't take none of that for granted. Not even the losses. Like you don't take none of that for granted. So I kind of feel like, you know, I was able to merge both of those things that my mom and dad have, and then, you know, put my sauce on it too. You know what I'm saying? I came up with this term some years ago called being important, not famous. You know, I ain't never really, you know what I'm saying, wanted to be, you know, it's funny. I was having this conversation on an open platform on Twitter some time ago, and somebody referred to me as like the secret weapon. I never even looked at myself like that, but I kind of thought that was dope. But yeah, I kind of just felt like, man, if I put in the work, the people who know, they gonna know. The ones, you know what I'm saying? And that's all I needed. Like I didn't never need to be no more than that. So yeah, I kind of just felt like that's where everything comes from for me.
Nah, that's ill. That's ill, and that's one of the traits that I picked up earlier. And you actually, it's a tidbit. You mentioned your dad, right?
Yeah.
So I remember you told me a story, and it blew me away. So like, share with them how. Tell the people about that story, because to me, I saw like a creative spark there, like, and I was like, that triggered something for me. So tell them what we're discussing and how'd that come about.
So you are you referring to my dad designing?
Right. Yeah.
County Seal. So my dad, brilliant man, right? You know, went to Howard when he was probably like 16 or 17 years old, like. He designed the county seal in Mecklenburg County, in Charlotte, North Carolina, the largest county in the state or whatever. And he designed that when he was what? I think he was probably like 17 or 18. And if you ever get a chance to Google the Mecklenburg County sign, or seal rather, it still sits. It was on the police cars and all that stuff for years, but they took it off. I think it's on like it's definitely on the court building down there, and all the police officers that work in that court building, it's on their sleeves and things of that nature.
Wow.
So he designed that, some time, long time ago. And so me being the creative is like, it drips right down on me, right? You know what I'm saying? Even my brother, you know what I mean? Like both of us are kind of handy with the pen, drawing and things of that nature. That's something I don't even tell people about that I know how to do. But nonetheless, yeah, so that's always been something that I can speak proud of, you know what I'm saying? When as far as my dad is concerned.
No, that's dope.
And so I got some friends who teach in Charlotte, and they didn't even know, and then now they teaching their kids, their students about it, which I think is really dope.
Nah, that's crazy. That's legacy. That's one of those things that we all will want to do one day, right? We'll leave. That's something so small as a teenager that left like a lasting impression. You know what I'm saying? So like we know, well, for people that's joining us today, like we know like Amir Boyd, like your calling card is like that hustle, that hard work. So like that fire energy. So like explain like what exactly is your title? What is your role over at Interscope? And about that journey, because a lot of people on here, they have artists, they want to submit music, they don't know how to get it to radio, or they might submit something wrong. Like, so tell us what you do, and like, what's the best way for like a manager to go about getting their artist music played on the radio?
So I'm going to answer the last question first. I think the first thing that managers should do, or things that the managers should do, is make sure that music is right. Like when I mean like mix and mastered, and again, and then when you're talking about radio, like I wouldn't jump out the box, and if I was a new artist, I wouldn't jump out the box and go to radio. Like that's not what I would do. I would make sure my shit was, every DJ in the world had it, and then I would make sure those relationships I talked about earlier could help me get some play somewhere, and then I would have it on all the DSPs. Matter of fact, I would do that first in case somebody Shazam my song and they can't find it. There go, I miss a check, you know what I mean, somewhere down the line. So there's different ways of that happening, but managers need to have relationships in all facets of the business, not just radio, not just DSPs, fashion, lifestyle, everything. If they're gonna be in this, they need to have all the relationships. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't gonna say, just make sure you got enough relationships that anything your artist is into, you need to be able to say, okay, so he likes this. All right, well, let me go find out who running this, so I can build that relationship with them, and we can try to help each other out. I think the other thing you asked me was my role at Interscope. So, obviously me knowing radio and doing radio all of these years, I've kind of worked to a certain level. And, my first label job was at Atlantic back in 2005, I believe. Special ops. We worked both panels. When I mean both panels, rhythmic and urban, mainstream panels at radio. Bad Boy, all of that, Young Jock, Boys in the Hood, Danity Kane, Trina, we had some of her stuff. At some point, Atlantic had 2 staffs, and then when it was time, they was like, if Tip put out a record and they wanted everybody to be on that, they put both staffs on that. Like, yo, y'all got to get this record. So that happened, and I left and went to Interscope back in 2007, I believe it was, somewhere around there. I forget, but left them and went back to radio to be a music director at B103.
Wow.
Did that for a bit, left them and went to Grand Hustle. To me, working at Grand Hustle was like the opening of it all, because I was able to be national. Up until then, I was regional.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to spread my relationships, gather more of them, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Prior to that, I was Atlanta. I was Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, Florida.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When I got with Grand Hustle, it was like, New York to Vegas, to LA, to and it was a bigger, platform to move around in. Then we started breaking other acts, and that just made everything else cohesive. So my role at Interscope now is the Senior National Director of Urban Promotions, which to me don't mean, I don't care nothing about none of them titles, as long as my check right. You know what I'm saying?
Word.
But however, it is good to have that, because that means you're ascending, right? And I'm on a wonderful team. You know what I'm saying? I got a team of people. I got 2 leaders in front of me, and I got a team behind me. But I don't look at it. We all a team. And we put up our numbers. So I feel good about that. I've worked at Epic Records. I've worked at E1 and Koch. I pretty much everybody has played some kind of role in doing a lot of things. But the radio portion now is, because I'm a senior national, that just means that I cover the whole country instead of just a region.
No, that's amazing. Like that's one of the careers. Like if I wasn't doing what I'm doing now, I'd try to find somewhere in radio, man. I remember I forgot what station we was at, and I was like so into it, like, yo, this saw as the legal copy at the end of a commercial on radio, like, oh, that's all they did, they just sped it up. Or like how they cut commercial breaks. That was actually real cool to me, because that's a big part of being a creative. But I chose another path to that, and it's really cool that you mentioned about like how it went from like local to national. And I think the DNA of music is so strong, and like you said, like 2003, like the imprint now, like we're here from Grand Hustle. Like had it not been for Grand Hustle, I wouldn't have met you or Jason. I wouldn't be having this conversation. So it's kind of crazy how everything goes full circle. And being local, like, yo, being a kid from Jersey, and then being able to see so many parts of the United States and even outside of the country with somebody like you, that was an intricate part of that success. So like, this is the tough part, right? So everybody here, I did mention that Amir is a vampire earlier. It's not a joke. This is a serious thing. This is one of the only 10 people I know that age backwards.
Bro, I got a couple of gray hairs. Cut it out. You know what I'm saying?
You got a couple of gray hairs. This is crazy. But I think like it's attributed to, I ain't gonna play. I'm gonna say Amir's really 270 years old, but he doesn't want to tell anybody. But I guess wellness plays a part of that. So like, this industry is like very stressful. So like what are some ways that people could like get themselves mentally ready for this kind of, because everybody wants to be a part of it, but it's really a marathon. So what are some ways you stay healthy?
So I mean, I'm a runner, right? Even though I haven't run in a month, but I'm a runner. But I also, now listen, don't get me wrong. I wasn't always this way. I got type 2 diabetes from being in this business. Let's not keep it, I know where it comes from. You know what I'm saying? Wilding when I was, of age, right? But when I found that out, I had to change my lifestyle, right? So I think, and again, I wasn't always this way. I remember letting this business put so much pressure on me that it sped up my heart rate, right? I remember going through that. And I've also been in some really dark places where, I've dealt with some mental stuff as well. But I feel like, just like any other superhero, right? They go through something and then they become the superhero. Wow. Like they come out, I think maybe a couple of them, just came out super, right? But some of them went through some kind of metamorphosis and they came out as the superhero. So I feel like, all of those trials and tribulations are just adding to my superpowers. And you don't get those or understand who you are, your superpowers, or any of that if you're not at some point in your life uncomfortable. So, so for me, it's been that, right? And I feel like, you always call me a vampire or whatever, but I drink a lot of water. You know what I'm saying? I do some other things that keep me chill. And like I said, I get out and go run, or I ride my bike, or, you know what I'm saying? I try to be a part of what's going on in this world and keeping my hands still in it. You know, and for real, you know, I keep God first too. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's a bet. That means you always gotta keep God first. That's what moves it forward. And actually, while you were talking, a lot of messages actually came in. Some really good questions. We won't be able to get to all of them, but I'm gonna try my best to get to 2 of them. Okay. So a really good one we have from Ed Doxson. Shout out to you, Ed. For someone with a diverse professional business background in HR, what advice would you recommend them to start, and in what city? I'm from DC, where the music scene is still growing, so not the luxury of LA or NYC, where record labels and things are a car ride away.
So I'm from there too, right? I'm you know, I lived on 453 Q Street, Northwest Washington, DC. I lived around River Terrace. I lived around Southwest. I lived all over the city. And what I realized about my home is sometimes we don't understand the sacrifice, because my home, I love my people, but we already good. Like we got this ego that we cannot shake off. So even when I'm around my peers and I do stuff that they don't understand, that's helped me be where I am, you know, we don't understand, or we don't know necessarily how to take an L where I'm from. We look at that as some other kind of, you know, disrespect or whatever. But me, yo, I understand if I'm driving a stick that I gotta find reverse sometimes, or neutral sometimes, before I go back in the first gear or the second gear or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I think that that's important. But as far as that, and that's the mind state. But as far as everything else, I understand the city too don't really have, that's not where, to me, the music business flourishes, because labels look over DC. They'll go in there for a minute, but they'll see exactly what I'm talking about, and then they won't come back for a couple of years. You know what I'm saying? So I think, but I also think and know this too, you got to be hot in your city no matter where you from. You know what I'm saying? If you say you from DC and you hot, and I know some people, because I know a whole bunch of people from DC, and I can pull up anywhere, and I find out you not hot, you know, you know what I mean? So, you know, knowing your market and understanding your market, this goes for any city. You're supposed to be working the markets around your city too. It's like a clover leaf. You ain't just like, you know, it's other little markets around DC that you should be popping in. So yeah, I mean, that's the answer to that question.
That's dope. That's dope. So Ed, hope you got that. Shout out to you. There's still a few more questions. Hopefully Amir will stick around with us.
I'm gonna be here.
Yeah, in the Q&A box in there, there's some questions just started flowing in. I want to say thank you for joining us for real. Everybody that's joining us here on this Heavy Talk. This is not the last, but like I said, he is a Bruce Wayne type. So Amir will be back, as well as like the world famous photographer Jonathan Manuel will be back, like for this masterclass series, because it's so much to unpack. Thank you for joining us. And maybe you got some words for the people.
I thank everybody for being here. I thank, you know, all the homies that have helped me get onto this. Ryan, you know, I've always felt like, you know what I'm saying, you was like super hella creative. You remind me of myself a lot. You know what I'm saying? I think that you way smarter than me though. And I appreciate everybody that's a part of this. This is dope. This is a community. This is what we need. This is what, shout out to Jeter for like coming up with this, and everybody that's involved, because this is something that's a need for people to understand. Like, yo, you can't just wake up and say you're gonna be in this shit. Like, you know what I mean? I know Jason. We respect hard work over talent. So this is a chance for people to put in some work and learn from others. Like we learning from each other. So I appreciate everybody, yo. This is dope.